Chapter 2. Death of a Good Friend. My World, My Way. About a year later, when I was 15, my mum attempts to set down some rules. Well, she tried to tell me she wanted me inside the house at a certain time at night, before it got too late, because she doesn't want me in the streets at night. I asked her if she was crazy. I tell her, I've been doing whatever I want for like forever, and now you want me follow rules? Especially be inside at a certain time. I was like, nah, don't think so. She probably tried to threaten me with punishment, but it was too late. The way I was, if I wanted to do something, I simply done it. Period. I haven't got no time to listen to no damn rules, unless they can get my ass locked up. And I still feel like that today. I always say, I don't follow the rules of the world, I follow the law. I say that meaning all the traditional shit stuff, like how a man is supposed to act, what he is supposed to do, how a man's supposed to live, and the basic rules he is supposed to follow, is all bullshit that has been passed down from past generation. I refuse to follow anything. I follow my own rules, and I say I follow the law, meaning I don't do no crime unless I can get away with it. Not literally speaking on that one. I guess my mother was working less now, so she could keep a better eye on me, but the damage had already been done. I was already street poisoned. I was already in love with the streets, and all the entertainment that came while hanging in the streets. My father was around, he was in my life, but I wasn't a priority to him, I felt. I guess him and my mum didn't work out for whatever reason. He was remarried and doing his own thing. I remember he wanted me in his third wedding, but in the end I declined because the girl was fat that I had to walk with. I was young at the time and just wasn't feeling it. That's how it goes sometimes. I also remember how it was so much rules over at his homestead, my granny house. I hated it. After growing up in the hood with no rules, then going to a place where rules were everything could not work for me. So that was not a place for me. I did like the fact that it was closer to the ocean and I could go swimming and fishing more. For some reason, even though my dad was in my life, I never felt a connection with him, as in father figure type. The only person I felt a connection with as a father figure was my Uncle Bull. Bull Daniels from North Shore, Gracechurch area. I remember he would always come look for me in Middletown, the area where I lived. I recall going to his funeral like it was yesterday. I was heartbroken. I cried and cried. I think he died when I was about 11 or 12. At the time, to me, in my young mind and heart, he was my hero. He would come to the hood riding his old Pooch motorbike or mobilette. They were popular back in that day. He would always have his short dreads hanging. They didn't wear helmets back in them days, well, he didn't. He would come looking for his nephew. The story behind his death was that he was murdered, stabbed, by a guy over some drugs. And the word on the streets was that my Uncle Bull's girlfriend at that time, that he was going out with dating, had set him up. I was young hearing this story. I didn't know what to think, because his girlfriend was at the funeral and clearly upset he was gone. All I knew, my Uncle Bull was gone. I can still vividly remember being at the gravesite, and that was like 25 years ago. My granny, his mum, said I always told him, you live by the knife, you die by the knife. She said he liked to use a knife, but from the stories I hear about him, he was a real gangster who liked to use a gun. I will be sitting round a bunch of older guys, and I'll just bring up his name to see if anyone knew him. I won't tell them I'm his nephew at first, because I wanted to hear the real stories. They say he ran North Shore and 42nd area, and he wasn't one to play with. He would roll around on his moped and just stop in different guys' areas' hoods and pull out a gun and make them give up all they shit. Drugs, weed and money. They said from this he was wanted by a lot of people, but he didn't care. I love to hear stories of my super Uncle Bull. One thing though, my granny was a mean bitch. She had a good heart and was a fluent member in the Salvation Army Church, and don't get me wrong, I love her to death and beyond, God bless her soul, but she was a mean bitch all the way, right to the end. Growing up, I hated to be around her, not until I got a bit older and realised I don't really have to listen to her. I just had to hear her. Once I realised this, I went around her more and realised she meant well. She just expressed herself in a mean way. And trust me, right to the end she held firm, hard all the way. I stuck close to her, though, and rewarded her meanness with kindness. She was overall a sweetheart, though. Some people are just strong-minded, willed, or just miserable. I guess she had to be, with 5 kids. People, family members, would tell me I was a little rude growing up, but I don't think I was that bad. I do recall the older I got, the ruder I was with my mouth. If you were older or bigger person or family member and you annoyed me, I would fuck you off, call you names and then run. I was fast, and if you kept chasing me, I would run to my Christian great-aunt, Aunt Hilda. God bless her. She won't let no one harm me. I guess I had tactics for staying safe. She was also the one that made all the children in the neighbourhood go Sunday school, up at Fubbler's Church at the top of Middletown Hill every Sunday morning. She would walk around the whole neighbourhood and go door to door and get all the kids to make sure we all attended. She knew if she didn't make her rounds to the houses, no kids would really go, bless her heart. Growing up in the hood, or back of town as it was called, was cool. My immediate family, which consisted of me, my mum and sister, was always moving from apartments, it seemed, but that didn't impact my younger years too much. The first area I remember living in was Dock Hill. Then, next, we moved to Two-Way, Deepdale. Then we moved to my loving hood, Middletown. Two-Way, Deepdale and Middletown are not too far away from each other. From a young age, like primary school days, if anyone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I'm not going to lie, I would always say a police officer. Thank God that didn't work out. Don't think I'll be a good cop. I probably would have been a dirty cop or a mean cop that just overdoes their job. I guess every kid says a cop, police officer though, because the cops and firemen are the only 2 professions that really visited schools to see the kids. I'm not got nothing against cops, I was just making a point. But I don't think I could be a cop because I don't think I could lock people in cages or cells. I would only be able to lock the people up that I didn't like, but you can't not like everyone, so that's not for me. But I guess their duty and the law is their principle. As I got a little older, I started to think that if I ever got old and couldn't get a job, I'll just be either a cop or a fireman. I thought I had life all figured out. I guess when I got into high secondary school, that's when my life began to take a little meaning. So even though my mind had already been street poisoned, I was still thinking somewhat good. So I decided to be a police cadet the first year of secondary school. Every Monday after school finished, police cadets started. At the time, I was wearing my blue cadet shirt and really being a part of it. I guess I thought my life would go down that path. God had different plans for me, I guess. I still have good interaction with the instructors when I see them, up to today. There were 2 police officers that were assigned to run the police cadet training at Warwick Secondary School. It was a male and woman. I can't remember the guy's name, but the chick was called Roma. They used to come to the school and give us real cadet training, take us on an outing to learn more, take us for rides in the police car, memory training, also showing us what to look for in spotting a criminal, all sorts of shit. That is just a rough summary of the shit we used to do, but we done a lot. I think the cadet phase came and went. Also, from the beginning of secondary school, I was into the girls. Primary school was one thing when it came to the girls, but high school was a whole different level. You had all sorts, older, younger, fat, skinny, pretty and ugly ones. White, black, Portuguese, American type, and even more different nationalities. I was like a kid in a candy store. I just liked the interaction, really. I didn't really get into having sex, trying to fuck them, until the middle of second year, or even beginning of third. I also had a few older cousins already at the school, so I knew no one could fuck with me, and I was tough anyway. Around the time my second year rolled around, all the cadet shit was forgotten, and I was on the road to destruction. My mum was so laid back, I used to wake up whatever time I wanted to head to school. One day, I literally remember, I was still lying in bed at 10 a.m. thinking, okay, I got to go to school, and which girl will I sex or try to sex in school today? Yes, I would fuck them girls right in school, in the bathroom, stairwell, the trees, tracks behind school, anywhere I chose and felt I couldn't get caught. And luckily, I never got caught. I know people that have been caught, though, by teachers, and even one of my boys got caught by a whole class. Wow, that must have been embarrassing.